Welcome to Sunday School. Remember, a few weeks ago we talked about Jesus when he had risen from the dead. Well, Jesus had walked on that road to Emmaus with Cleopas and his friend, and he had gone home to their house and started to eat dinner with them when they realized that Jesus was with them and that he had risen from the dead. And he appeared to the disciples 2 more times in that upper room, one time without Thomas and one time with Thomas. And Jesus had told them, "I will come again to you." And they were looking forward to seeing him. There was a lot of talk around Jerusalem. Some people believed that Jesus was alive, and others thought that Jesus had not risen from the dead, that maybe somebody had taken his body and lied about it. But Jesus was indeed alive. Well, the disciples missed Jesus so very much that they decided one night to go fishing. A lot of the disciples had been fishing, and some of them did it for their living. And so they began to fish at nighttime, and they'd put the net down. It's really heavy when it gets wet. It's hard work pulling that net back into the boat. And they went to their favorite fishing hole, and they didn't catch anything. Well, they kept putting the net down in different places, and again, they didn't catch anything at all. They kept fishing all night long. Have you ever gone fishing and not caught anything? I have. I've gone fishing many times and not caught anything. But they were so discouraged. They weren't doing the fishing for fun. They needed it for food and for money. They could sell the fish at the market, and they needed that fish, and they couldn't catch any fish. Well, the sun was beginning to come up, and as they decided to go back to shore, they saw somebody way off in the distance. They couldn't really see who he was, but he said, "Children, have you caught any fish?" And they said, "No." Well, he said, "I want you to throw the net over onto the other side of the boat. So throw the net on the right side of the boat and see if you catch something." Well, when they did that, the Bible says that the net was so full of fish that it started to almost break. It was so full that they couldn't hardly pull it into their boat. Well, John, all of a sudden, he was looking over towards the shore at the man, and he could see that it was Jesus. And Peter decided to jump out of the boat and go swim to Jesus. He was so excited to see Jesus that he couldn't wait for the boat to get to the shore. Well, they got to the shore, and Jesus told the disciples, "I want you to bring the fish out of the boat onto the shore." And when they counted how many fish there were in the boat, you would not believe how many fish there were. There were 153 fish in that net. And that was a lot of fish that they caught that Jesus helped them with. Well, Jesus had made them breakfast. He had made them fish on the fire and some bread, and he fed the disciples. And he wanted to spend some special time with Peter. Remember what Peter did right before Jesus was crucified? It was the night before. Jesus had been arrested, and Peter was outside warming his hands by the fire. And he had denied Jesus. He said, "I don't even know him." And he had lied and said some really unkind things about Jesus. He had done it 3 times. And it made Peter's heart sad because he knew that Jesus heard, and he knew that also. And Jesus wanted to talk to Peter and make things right. You know, I'm so thankful that God doesn't give up on us when we sin. He wants to help us make things right. And so he talked to Peter, and he said, "Peter, do you love me? Do you love me more than these?" We don't know what Jesus was pointing to. He could have been pointing towards the other disciples, or he could have been pointing towards the fish. "Do you love me more than these?" And Peter told Jesus, "Yes, Lord, I am your friend. I love you." And Jesus told Peter, "Feed my sheep." Well, what was Jesus talking about? Was he talking about real sheep, animals, or do you think he was talking about something else? I know that Jesus was talking about other people. Peter needed to help other people know about Jesus and to spread that good news. And so Jesus again asked Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter said, "Yes, I'm your friend, Lord." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." And again, Jesus asked the same question, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter said, "Yes, Lord, you know my heart." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." He wanted Peter to realize that it was so important to tell other people about the good news that Jesus had died on the cross to save people from their sins, and that he wanted Peter to help spread that good news to other people. You know, when Peter made that decision to follow after Jesus, that decision that day on the beach when Jesus had made them breakfast, Peter followed through with that decision the rest of his life. We've been told that Peter was used by God in mighty ways. And later on in Peter's life, he was arrested. He was put in chains and in prison. And the Bible says that Peter was crucified. Peter died for Jesus. You know, when we think back about how Peter denied Jesus the night before he was arrested, or the night before he died, that Peter did some things that were sinful, and God forgave him, and Peter made the choice to do what was right. He asked the Lord to forgive him. And you know, we can do that, boys and girls. When we choose to do wrong and sin, God will forgive us, and we need to make things right. And then on a daily basis, we need to do the right thing, not just on Sundays for Sunday school, but every day. Good morning. This is the snack for Sunday school. Can somebody tell me what holiday is coming up very soon?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yes. This is one of my favorite desserts to make, and it's called dirt cake. And this is something that you could help make for your mom for Mother's Day. So I'm going to have Hannah and Brent come over here and help me make it. You're going to take some sandwich cookies like this, and you're going to take something hard. You can take a rolling pin, or I have a hammer that's a meat hammer that you were going to hit the bag with. So he's going to help me crush those. Hannah has some pudding.
Vanilla pudding.
She has vanilla, and then I have some chocolate. You can choose which flavor you want, and I just happen to have both. So we're going to use a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of chocolate. She's going to put the pudding in a bowl. Then after she puts the pudding in the bowl, we're going to put some milk in with the pudding. All right, thank you. So we're going to pour, this is 1 cup. Hannah has 2 cups. And I have the 3rd cup, so 3 cups of milk in with the pudding. And we're going to just stir that a little bit with a regular spoon. You don't really have to use a mixer for this part. Just going to stir that around and let it sit for a few minutes. With pudding, it will get a little bit thicker as it sits, and so we'll just let it sit and rest for a few minutes. Well, the next part of our ingredients, we're going to take a big bowl like this. I think that's good, Brent. And we're going to take 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese and put it inside the big bowl. Let's put that right there. And then I also have a half a stick of butter. So it would be 4 tablespoons of butter. We're going to put the 4 tablespoons of butter and the cream cheese in the bowl. And then I have 1 cup of powdered sugar that's going to go in that bowl. And then Hannah's going to come over here and she's going to turn on the mixer, and she's going to mix that's the butter, the cream cheese, and the sugar. Alright, so what she has is really thick. It tastes kind of like cheesecake because it has the cream cheese in there. And we're going to go ahead and add that pudding that Brent is stirring right into that mixture right here. So Brent, come on over here. You're going to do the next part so that you can use the mixer also. We can pretend like you're making this for my Mother's Day dessert. Alright, so put it down inside there and go ahead and turn it on. That's not the right button, this is the button. So, keep it down. Keep it down inside there. We're going to make it go a little faster. can just set that right there. Hannah, could you take that? There you go. All right, so when we make dirt cake, we have to start with dirt, don't we? So Brent is the one that made the dirt, so we have it right here. And I have a flower pot. This is a clean one that's not been used for anything but food. And we're going to put some of the dirt in the very bottom of the flower pot. So we'll pour in just enough to cover the bottom. We don't need a whole lot, but we want a little bit down there. So you can see that I put in just enough to cover the bottom of the dirt cup. Then we're going to take the pudding cream cheese mixture. And we have one more thing we need to add before we make this. And you see that wonderful Cool Whip that we have that we're going to add. That'll make it really fluffy. We don't need that mixer anymore, so I'm just going to pull it back right there. So we're going to add that in, and you don't want to whip this in with the beater because it'll make it go flat and it'll get runny. So you want to do it by hand. So we'll stir that in, that whipped topping. I know a lot of you like sandwich cookies like Oreos, and some people like it inside of their pudding even. And so you could put some of the sandwich cookie crumbs inside the pudding, or you could just save it for the top. Do you think we should put it inside or leave it on top?
Leave it on top.
Okay.
Leave it on top.
We'll leave it on top this time. All right, so our Cool Whip is mixed in with our pudding mixture, and we're going to go ahead and pour it into our flower pot. And we'll try to level it out the best we can. We want to spread it all out so it's even on the top. And it's time to put the dirt on top of the cake. I'm going to pour all those delicious cookies on top. And then we want to spread it around. And since you're making this for your mom, of course, it's a flower pot and it has dirt in it. What do we need? Some flowers, don't we? So we'll put our flowers inside there. I did clean the flowers so that they could go inside of the food. And there's our flower pot. And then I have this cute little shovel that I'll use to serve it with. We'll put that inside like that. And that's our snack for Sunday school. Our Mother's Day craft is something that you can make for your mom next week for Mother's Day, and it is a picture holder, and I will show you how we're going to make that. Here's another one that I have that's like this. First of all, you need to get a rock, and it needs to be kind of smooth on the bottom, and then you'll take some wire. This is about 20 gauge wire, and you'll want to wrap it around the bottom of the rock. And so you wrap it around, and then you want to twist it until the rock is tight with the wire. You don't want the wire to slip around. So you see how I have the wire at the bottom and it's holding onto the rock, and you want to leave about 7 inches at the top. So I'll cut this off, and I have about 7 inches of wire standing up. And then you'll take whatever beads you have and you'll put it on the wire, and you'll keep threading those beads on until you get as high as you want your picture holder to be. And so for this one, I went about this tall, and you can just go as high as you would like to go. And you keep putting those beads on until you're ready to stop. After you get done putting the beads on, you're going to take something round like this Sharpie, and I rolled it on the Sharpie like this. Alright, so I have the Sharpie and I pull the Sharpie out, and now you've got that little ring right here that holds on to the pictures. And so you can take a picture and slide it right on top, and it holds on to your picture. And this is our picture decoration for Mother's Day for Sunday school.